What's the most unexpectedly wholesome thing a stranger has done for you? What's the most unexpectedly wholesome thing a stranger has done for you? Original post. OP. Last week I was having a really rough day. I missed my bus to work, spilled coffee all over my shirt, and was already late because I barely slept the night before. I stopped at a small cafe to clean up and try to regroup. While I was sitting there, an older man who was reading at the table next to me noticed I looked stressed. He didn't say anything at first, but when he got up to leave, he quietly handed the cashier money and told her to pay for whatever I ordered. The barista came over and said, "Your drink and breakfast are covered. He said to tell you that better days start with small kindnesses." I genuinely almost cried. It completely changed my mood. I wish I could thank him properly. One user said, "A similar thing happened to me a couple months ago. I was short $2 at a grocery store and started putting items back. The woman behind me just tapped her card and said, 'We all need help sometimes.'" It shocked me how such a tiny gesture can feel huge when you're struggling. This one said, "It's wild how strangers can be more supportive than family sometimes. Last year my car broke down in the rain. A couple pulled over, gave me an umbrella, and waited with me until the tow truck came. Didn't ask for anything, just wanted to make sure I was safe. I still carry that umbrella with me." This user said, "One time I was crying on a train, trying to hide it. A woman sitting across from me silently handed me a tissue pack that said, 'You're stronger than you think.' She didn't say a word, just smiled. I never saw her again, but I'll never forget her." This user said, "This thread is proof that the world isn't as awful as it feels sometimes. People really do care. We just don't talk about it enough." Next thread, am I the a-hole for asking my roommate to pay extra rent because her boyfriend basically lives with us? Original post. OP. I, 22F, share a 2-bedroom apartment with my roommate Ava, 21F. We agreed when we signed the lease that rent and utilities would be split 50-50, and that neither of us would have sleepovers more than 2 to 3 nights a week to avoid overcrowding. About 4 months ago, Ava started dating Liam. At first it was cute. He came over occasionally and was polite. But now he is here literally every single day. He showers here, eats meals here, uses our laundry machine, and stays overnight 6 to 7 nights a week. He's even started leaving clothes and gaming equipment in the living room. He also drives up the utility bills, especially water and electricity, because he showers twice a day and leaves lights on. Last month, the bill went up by 40%. I finally sat both of them down and said that if Liam is going to live here full-time, he needs to contribute to rent and utilities, not the full third, but at least $200 extra a month to cover usage. Otherwise, he needs to reduce how often he stays over. Ava got super angry and said I was treating her relationship like a business transaction and that I'm punishing her for having a boyfriend. Liam stayed quiet the entire time. Ava has barely spoken to me for a week and told her friends that I'm controlling and jealous. One friend even texted me saying I'm pathetic for trying to profit from love. For the record, I'm not jealous. I'm just tired of feeling like I live with 2 people while only one pays rent. So, am I the a-hole? Someone said NTA. He is living there. If someone is sleeping, showering, eating, and hanging out in a space every day, they're effectively a tenant. Utilities cost money. Wear and tear costs money. Even your groceries and cleaning supplies are being used more. This isn't about jealousy or punishing anyone for a relationship. It's about basic fairness. If he wants boyfriend privileges 24/7, he can pay for boyfriend responsibilities like contributing to the increased cost of living. If he actually cared about Ava, he would want to make sure she keeps friends and a healthy living situation instead of letting her damage it to protect his free ride. Stand your ground and, if needed, remind her that landlords don't allow unauthorized tenants. She's putting both of you at risk. Another said NTA. I went through this exact situation a couple years ago. My roommate's boyfriend didn't live there, but was there 30 days in a row. Guess who ended up cleaning everything, buying toilet paper every week, and never having quiet time? Me. People don't realize how stressful it is until they're the ones living it. Your home should feel like your space, not like you're third-wheeling in your own living room. If she refuses to compromise, consider involving the landlord. Many leases specifically say that guests staying more than X days per month count as additional occupants, which can violate the contract. One user said NTA. The fact that she called you jealous instead of discussing the practical issue shows she knows she's wrong but wants to deflect. If Liam is really just a guest, then he can limit his visits. If he can't, then he lives there. Those are the only two options. Be prepared for them trying to guilt trip you further or a meltdown right before he magically moves in officially. Don't back down or you'll never get your space back. This user said NTA. Honestly, you were more generous than most would be. I would have asked for a full third of the rent. He's basically using your apartment as his free dorm. You're not a hotel. You're a roommate with boundaries. Next thread, am I the a-hole for refusing to cancel my wedding after my sister announced she's pregnant and wants my date for her gender reveal? Hi Reddit. Buckle up. I, 28F, am getting married in April 2026. We booked our venue 18 months ago, paid deposits, planned everything down to seating charts, catering, decorations, the usual. It's a medium-sized wedding, around 110 guests. My younger sister Rachel, 25F, recently announced she's pregnant. Our whole family is thrilled. I truly am very happy for her. But here's where it gets messy. Last week, Rachel told me her due date is in October, and she wants to have a huge gender reveal party. I said that was wonderful, and asked if she needed help planning. She said yes, and then dropped the bomb. We want to do it at your wedding venue, on your wedding day. It's the only date everyone will already be together. I genuinely thought she was joking. Nope, she was dead serious. She explained that it would only take 10 to 15 minutes, we'd pause the reception, make an announcement, and pop confetti cannons in our theme colors. She even said we could reuse some of the decorations to match. I told her absolutely not. That day is my wedding, not a pregnancy event. She got immediately angry, saying I was being selfish and that family comes before individual ego. She insisted that she shouldn't have to plan a separate day when everyone will already be gathered. My fiancé said no way and told her it's wildly inappropriate. My parents, however, took her side. My mom said I should be grateful she wants to share the spotlight and that denying her is punishing her for creating life. My dad said, "You're going to look back embarrassed you cared so much about centerpieces and photos when family moments matter more." I told them that if they try to make any announcement at the wedding, they will be removed immediately. Now half my family is calling me a bridezilla, threatening not to attend unless I apologize and agree to the reveal. My fiancé and all friends say they're astonished at the entitlement. So Reddit, am I the a-hole for putting my foot down? The first guy said NTA. A wedding is a once-in-a-lifetime, hopefully, event that you've planned and paid for. Your sister wanting to hijack your reception to turn it into her personal social media spectacle is unbelievably selfish. The fact that your parents are supporting this is mind-blowing. A 10-15-minute interruption at a wedding is huge. It breaks momentum, distracts from the purpose, and turns your wedding photos into confetti-covered chaos featuring someone else. Set firm boundaries. If they push further, uninvite them. Do not let them bully you into giving away something special you worked for. A user said NTA, and if they're threatening not to come, call the bluff. People like your sister are used to the world revolving around them. She's not asking for a moment. She's asking to steal the entire narrative of your day. Every memory, every photo, every post would become about her pregnancy. Imagine, congratulations to the bride and groom, but OMG baby. No thanks. This is manipulation disguised as family bonding. Another said NTA. I work in event planning, and I've watched this exact situation destroy family weddings. I promise you, if you let her do a reveal, she will. Make speeches, pose for 1,000,000 photos, request a special song, expect a spotlight moment. It will grow from 10 minutes to 45. People will leave talking about the baby, not your marriage. Stand firm. Lock down your vendors, alert security if needed, and tell the DJ, coordinator, and venue no unscheduled announcements. This user said NTA. The entitlement is unreal. Your mom saying you should be grateful to share the spotlight? No. Weddings already have enough stress without someone staging a stunt for TikTok. If Rachel truly cared about family unity, she wouldn't be fracturing relationships over attention. Someone also said NTA. This is classic golden child versus scapegoat dynamic. Notice how she makes an unreasonable demand. You say no. She plays victim family sides with the louder one. Stay firm. This is a test of whether you'll be allowed boundaries in adulthood. This user said, record this message for the wedding morning. Anyone attempting to announce pregnancy, engagement, proposals, gender reveals, or other attention-grabbing interruptions will be escorted out. People like your sister need consequences. Next thread. I hope you are still here. Like and subscribe. What was the last straw that completely broke a friendship you thought would last forever? One user said, one of my best friends just did this to me. I told her a year in advance about my wedding and she claimed she couldn't find childcare. A year out. I spent probably $20,500 to do all of her wedding stuff a few years ago as a bridesmaid, but she didn't even send me so much as a congrats text. Another user said, when I announced how happy I was to finally have $10,000 in savings after ruining my life from a gambling addiction. And then a week later, being told I was a selfish fucking asshole because I wouldn't give him a $5,000 loan to fix the third luxury car he bought that year. This user said I was always there for her during everything, but realized she never once just checked in with me or rang or messaged, just to chat or say hello or ask about any of my family. It was always constant need for her attention. It was so draining, I had to cut contact. Another user gave this comment. The person I thought was my best friend never told me she was engaged. Her fiancé told me, a year after he asked, and was shocked I didn't know. I started paying attention to a lot more of how we interacted. I was always supporting her, checking in with her to see if she was good, etc. It was one-sided. She didn't care about if I was good, so I stopped caring too. This comment said I spent about $4,000 being her maid of honor, hosted bridal shower, dress, makeup and hair, wedding gift, etc. And after her wedding, she ghosted me. She married into a very toxic and racist family. Her husband is controlling, and she followed his lead and cut off most, if not all, of her friends that she obtained prior to him or ones that were not his friends. Her mom and my mom were best friends since they were young teenagers. She and I are the same age and were also best friends our whole lives. As soon as she tied the knot, I no longer existed. Recently, my mom died, and ex-bestie came to a viewing to pay respects. She suggested we get together sometime, presumably to reconnect. I smiled and said that'd be great and never contacted her, and she didn't bother to contact me either. One of the users added, she dumped me as her best friend for a girl that always hated me for no good reason. I couldn't understand how she could value someone that despised me for no other reason than having my shit together. We couldn't move past it. She wouldn't give her up and I couldn't reconcile it. It was like a painful divorce that took me years to get over. We were so close before that. It still hurts a little. What do you guys think about this and what is your stories? Let's move on to the next thread. OP asked Redditors who have worked with celebrities, what don't we know about them? One Redditor said, my company hired celebs to entice people to attend our biggest events each year. The opener at one conference was Adam Savage from Mythbusters. He was incredibly kind and engaging with all of us backstage. He asked about my son's academic pursuits and suggested he attend the Colorado School of Mines so he could learn to blow stuff up. It was the most appropriate and delightful thing he could have said. After he did his sound check, he sat down on a green room couch across from me. We both had our laptops out, and I assumed that he would appreciate some quiet and not have someone fanboy out. Instead, he started asking me about the conference, my role with the company, and so on. You could tell he likes meeting people and making connections. One user commented on this. I met him at a baseball game when I was about 12, and he let me fanboy out and talk about science with him. He was probably one of the nicest people I've ever met. He talked to me for a good 10 minutes, and you could tell he was really interested and was so kind. Asked questions and gave suggestions. It's still a really core memory for me. I had a solid career in neuroscience for a while, and I've always said to myself if I ever meet him again, I'll have to thank him for that conversation back then. Another comment said I was at a high school production of the Buffy the Vampire Slayer musical episode. I don't know if he had a kid in it, or was just a parent from the same school, or just a frickin' Buffy nerd like me. I saw a dude that looked just like Adam Savage walk up the aisle after me, and then he sat almost directly behind me. During the intermission, I heard him talking to someone, and I realized he didn't just look like Adam Savage, he was Adam Savage. I didn't say anything to him because it was literally a high school musical, and I didn't want to get in his business. Come to find out later that he's a really nice guy and generally very welcoming to people who recognize him. I should have at least said hi. Let's move to another story from the Redditors. I was at a high school production of the Buffy the Vampire Slayer musical episode. I don't know if he had a kid in it, or was just a parent from the same school, or just a frickin' Buffy nerd like me. I saw a dude that looked just like Adam Savage walk up the aisle after me, and then he sat almost directly behind me. During the intermission, I heard him talking to someone, and I realized he didn't just look like Adam Savage, he was Adam Savage. I didn't say anything to him because it was literally a high school musical, and I didn't want to get in his business. Come to find out later that he's a really nice guy and generally very welcoming to people who recognize him. I should have at least said hi. One comment on this says I met him a few years ago. He was working at the FanCon, and I was working retail nearby. He came through on his break, the same day as Brett Spiner of all people, and he was equally excellent. And while waiting in line, there was a very upset child in her mom's arms, looking over her mom's shoulders at Leslie David Baker. I'm not sure how it started, but he was making faces at her to cheer her up while her mom tried to do the return. It took him all of 5 minutes and she was giggling. I've had so much respect for him since. He saw a mom and a retail worker in a busy store and thought, I can make life easier for them. And he did. Edit. He also told me my people skills were wasted in retail, if by some chance he ever reads this. I'm an engineer now, and you're right. It's still lots of people skills. Another comment says, I got hooked on conventions with an experience like this with Carol Stryken back in the early 90s. I'd begged my parents to take me to the local Star Trek convention for the weekend. Not just go for a day. We also had a pet pot-bellied pig at the time that we took with us. Anyway, I'm going through the halls with my dad, our little pig on a leash because we're taking her out, and who walks past us but Mr. Hom and Lurch all rolled into one. I was immediately starstruck. He took the time to chat with us and was so tickled by our pet pig that he came back to our family's room and chatted with us while he played with our pet pig. He signed autographs for me and my brother after chatting with us and our parents for a while and went on his way. He was super nice and gracious, and it's a memory that's always stuck with me. I was also hooked on conventions and the convention scene in that moment. Someone could walk off the movie screen and chat with you just like that, and it blew my young mind. This user also commented I used to work the merch table for a synth-pop band a long time ago. One time they played an anime con, and I was vending next to, apparently, a massive celebrity. For the life of me, I can't remember the guy's name, but he'd apparently done the voices on a number of popular shows. The whole weekend, he had a long line of people at his table. At the end of the con, the people running it took a few of us out to Red Lobster, and I spent the whole evening talking to the guy, and he was incredibly friendly and personable. I think after a full weekend of fans wanting to talk about his work, he was happy to talk to someone who had no idea who he was. Another comment says I met him when I worked at Macy's in Water Tower Mall in Chicago about 18 to 19 years ago, shortly after the US version of The Office started. I was the only one of my coworkers who knew who he was, so I called dibs on helping him. I figure it must be annoying hearing, "OMG, you are that guy from The Office, I am such a big fan." So I tried not to act starstruck and just treat him like a normal guy. But I could see on his face that he knew I was a bit too excited about helping him find some pants. He seemed super nice. Only celeb I have met in the wild. Moving on to another story. This Redditor posted this played table tennis with Keanu Reeves. There was a table tennis place in the same building my sister lived at in NYC. He was a regular there, and if he wasn't Keanu Reeves, you'd never know he was famous. Totally normal, down-to-earth guy. There's loads of questions I wanted to ask, and things to talk about regarding his career, but I just felt like it wouldn't have been appropriate. One user commented I came out of a shoot one afternoon and stumbled on the coolest motorcycle I've ever seen. Not a motorcycle guy. I was gawking at this beautiful piece of machinery, and Keanu stepped outside. He asked me if I ride, and I said no. "Too bad," he said. "I'd let you take it out for a ride." One user also said I saw him years ago at the Malibu Country Mart parking lot near Chipotle with his bike. I had just finished driving a bunch of canyons and stopped for lunch. I didn't see where he went or what he did, but seeing an arch bike and then a lanky, bearded dude with full leathers, it obviously had to be Keanu. One of the users also commented on the Redditor's story to keep it. Upvote 17. Downvote. Reply CandyCon. 7H ago. I think most celebrity bikes tend to be fugly pieces of garbage because the owner wants a bike that looks expensive and custom. They don't actually care about riding. Think of the 00's chopper craze. Blingy chrome on top of an uncomfortable and poorly functioning machine. But I know Keanu actually rides, and he is or was an investor in a small production motorcycle company where the bikes actually looked both expensive and like a legitimately well-designed bike. I just looked up the name of the company, and it's Arch, which suddenly makes the name of one of the motorcycles in Cyberpunk 2077 make much more sense. Reeves plays an important recurring role in that game. I think I read that the Ducati in my own private Idaho might have actually been one of his personal bikes as well. Brad Pitt and KT Sackhoff are also Hollywood motorcycle enthusiasts that actually ride, not just buy bikes to put in their garages. I think Pitt might own an Arch as well. But I've also seen some paparazzi shots of Pitt on some of those much uglier and less usable high-end motorcycles. Katie had a bike built for her by my favorite custom builder, Classified Motorcycles. They made Daryl's bike on The Walking Dead. He's also a legit moto enthusiast. Let's move to another story on celebrities. This Redditor posted this story. Coolio stayed at the Hotel Inn, was working at probably the best part of 15 years ago now. I checked him in and also brought him up some food and helped him with some stuff in his room. Super chill guy. He tried to give me a few tickets to his show that he was in town for, but I declined cause my girlfriend was in hospital, so I was with her when I wasn't working. He asked after her when he saw me the next day. All in all, sweet guy, tipped well, cool hair. Also dealt with former Australian Prime Minister Toby Abbott. He was nice enough but stared at you like a lizard. One of the users commented saying, "My best friend, like an older brother, hooked Coolio up with this lady in town who owned a rave club about 13 years ago. She said he gave her a foot rub. R.I.P. Ben. R.I.P. Coolio." Another said I met Coolio's dad in the 2000s. He was a chauffeur in the Bay Area. He was very personable and was telling me about how his son was making music with an orchestra. I asked if his son was well known, and he said, "Have you heard of Coolio?" Have I heard of him? I have Gangster's Paradise on my mini disc player right now. Then I heard he passed away a few years ago. One user posted, "As an elementary schooler, my friend's dad was high up at Tommy Boy Records, and Coolio would sometimes come over for lunch. He was the absolute nicest, and I was completely obsessed with his hair, which he let me play with. I was 5, don't judge LOL. Another Reddit user's story. I've met my share of celebs, but the one who stands out was John Candy. I was a young guy doing a bit part with some friends on SCTV. John was the nicest person, who was so careful to make sure we were happy and had everything we needed during the shoot. He hung out in our dressing room telling stories. Just a really good guy. Eugene Levi was on that same shoot and he was pretty cranky, but at the end of the day, when we were leaving the studio, he came to us and apologized for being cranky. Completely unnecessary and a completely stand-up guy. Edit. The SCTV skit was a Schmenji Brothers episode. One user commented on this saying, "I got to meet John Candy and his family after he narrated The Night Before Christmas on stage with our Big City Symphony, that my dad is a member of. They were taking photos on stage, and my sister and dad and I were passing by the stage door and also went out on stage. I was, obvs, starstruck, as I knew him as Barf from Spaceballs. Dad took their pic on the chorus risers, and he told us that his ears were operated by remote control. It's been like 35 years since it happened, and I am smiling writing this. What a gem." Another also commented, "My family had a cottage near Dan Aykroyd's, who is also a really nice, down-to-earth, chill guy, and John Candy would sometimes visit. The first time I remember seeing him there, he saw a group of us in the water swimming or whatever and called everyone over, waving his arm and said, 'Who wants a beer?' I was a kid, but watched a lot of Uncle Buck, so it was really cool to me. After that, he was always down to have a beer anytime he visited. Just seemed like he wanted to be included in the little cottage community there, not like he thought he was doing us a favor by gracing us with his presence." One user said John Candy is one of my favorite actors. I can't tell you how many times I have watched his movies, and they still hit me. I remember reading the trivia on Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and Steve Martin said Candy's character is how he feels Candy is in real life. A broken man, but always puts a smile on, and chugs along. It was very haunting to read and broke my heart. I was too young to appreciate Candy in his heyday, but I am making up for it now. Comment what you think of these Reddit stories. And please, if you have any stories of yourself, feel free to share it with us all. Like and subscribe. Okay, let's move on to some more stories and threads. TIFF update. I told my PM to get to the point in front of 40 people. I finally opened Slack. First off, thank you to everyone who told me to disappear into the mountains and raise goats. I actually spent half the night Googling how to build a shed out of pallets. But then I remembered I still have a car payment. So here I am, reporting for duty like a coward. I logged into work at 8:58 a.m., already sweating. I hovered over Teams like it was a self-destruct button. Finally clicked it. 14 unread messages. Most were from my so-called work friends, sending me gravestone memes and RIP bro gifs. But then I saw it. A message from him, my project manager, sent last night at 4:11 p.m. "Can we hop on a call first thing tomorrow?" Nothing good in history has ever followed that sentence. I joined the call, camera off because I didn't want him to see fear dripping down my forehead. He joined. Pause. 3 seconds of silence that aged me 40 years. Then he sighed, laughed. You know that exhausted dad laugh when someone breaks a plate? That one. He goes, "So, yesterday." I panicked instantly and started tossing excuses like confetti. System glitch, audio delay. I swear my mic has a mind of its own. Sorry. He cut me off. "Look, you weren't wrong." I listened back. I did ramble. I froze. Was he setting me up for murder or absolution? He continued. "But next time, keep the color commentary to yourself, okay? My director was on that call. He called it unprofessional, but I told him you were fighting with your headset. You owe me one." So yeah, I'm not fired. But I'm now unofficially known as the guy who says the quiet part out loud. During morning stand-up, someone typed, "Everyone mute up. The truth sniper has arrived." I've put a physical sticker over my mute button. I'm basically becoming a silent monk until my next performance review. TLDR. Logged in expecting to be sacrificed. Manager admitted he rambles, defended me to his boss. I survived. My dignity did not. I'm now office famous against my will. One of the users commented, "Oh my God." NTA. You didn't just say what everyone else was thinking. You said what everyone else has been dying to scream into the void during every corporate meeting since the invention of Zoom. Your PM knew it too. That's why he laughed. That man saw his entire career flash before his eyes as he replayed the audio and realized, yeah, I did talk for literal geological ages about nothing. Honestly, him defending you to his boss is proof he's self-aware enough to know he was the problem. And the "you owe me" one wasn't a threat. It was the corporate version of "my bad, bro." Also, the fact that your coworkers immediately turned you into a meme? Peak office culture. You didn't get fired. You became a workplace folklore. Protect your mute button like it's the last Horcrux. You've earned this title. This user said, OP, you didn't just dodge a bullet. You dodged the whole firing squad. Logging into Teams. Knowing there's a red laser sniper dot on your career is a spiritual experience. You came back from the brink. You resurrected yourself. You are basically the Jesus Christ of unmuted chaos. Your PM laughing? That's the laugh of a man who replayed that recording alone in his kitchen, staring into the microwave while thinking, yeah, I'd fire me too. But here's the thing. He protected you. He covered for you. He actively lied to upper management for you. That means you're valuable, or at least entertaining. And now you're the truth sniper? You are now the office's emotional support cryptid. Another comment said, the silence before a PM speaks is the modern-day equivalent of waiting for a medieval king to read your execution sentence. You lived through it. He totally knew he went full TED Talk mode during that meeting, and he was waiting to see if you were going to 1. Deny, 2. Spiral, 3. Cry, 4. Gaslight him. But no. You apologized like someone caught robbing a bank but insisting it was an accident. He probably respected that more than anything. Honestly, your coworkers turning you into a walking office omen is hilarious. That's how corporate legends are born. Years from now, when you're long gone, people will still whisper, remember the one who roasted the PM on accident? A hero. A martyr. This user said, you said the forbidden truth in a live meeting. Do you understand how many people fantasize about that? How many employees have stared dead-eyed into their webcam thinking, if I hear one more word about timelines, I'm going to combust? You didn't plan it, but you lived the dream. Also, taping a piece of cardboard over the mute button? That is the single most relatable survival tactic I've ever heard. That's wartime behavior. Wear the mute guy title with pride. Many are mute. Few are mute by legend. Title: Am I the a-hole for telling my sister I'm not her backup parent anymore? So I, 28M, have an older sister, Jenna, 33F, who has 2 kids, 8 and 5. I love my niece and nephew to death, and for years I've basically been the emergency contact, babysitter, school pickup guy, weekend helper, you name it. This all started when Jenna split from her ex. At first, I stepped in because I genuinely wanted to help while she got back on her feet. But once she was stable, financially okay, and in a better place, the help somehow became an expectation. If I said no, it was always met with, but you know how hard it is being a single mom. It'll only be this once. You're their uncle. You should want to spend time with them. It slowly got to the point where I couldn't make plans without checking if Jenna needed anything. I'd be told the night before that I'm picking the kids up from school. I'd be volunteered to watch them for entire weekends without anyone asking me first. The breaking point? 2 weeks ago, she met someone new. Suddenly, every weekend she had plans. And guess who automatically became the babysitter? Me. Last Saturday, she dropped the kids off at my apartment with their bags and said she'd be back late. I asked for clarification and she said, "Just keep them overnight. You're good with that, right?" Except she didn't ask. She just assumed. I told her I had plans already and she snapped, "Well, can't you move it? This is important." I replied, "You dating is not more important than my life." She left angry, but she did take the kids. Fast forward to the next day. She calls me crying, saying I embarrassed her and made her feel like a burden. She said she has no one else, and she thought family helps family. I told her I love her and the kids, but I am done being her backup parent. I said from now on, if she needs help, she has to ask, and I'm allowed to say no. She hung up and my mom got involved, telling me I could have handled it gentler because Jenna is trying her best. Now half the family thinks I'm heartless and the other half says I should have set boundaries ages ago. So, am I the a-hole? One user said NTA. You're her brother, not her unpaid husband. I'm a single parent myself and I cannot stand when other single parents weaponize the phrase, "You don't understand how hard it is." Yes, it's hard. Yes, support matters. But support is something people offer, not something you get to draft others into like a military. Your sister is using single mom as a get-out-of-responsibility card. It made sense when she was going through the breakup and genuinely needed help. But she got used to the convenience of you. You became predictable. You became the reliable one. And unfortunately, in family systems, the reliable one is always the first to be taken for granted. The fact that she drops her kids off like she's checking in luggage at an airport shows she doesn't view you as having an actual life. She thinks your free time is optional and hers is essential. And your mom taking her side? Classic. Parents often defend the child who struggles outwardly more than the one who seems stable. Doesn't make it fair. You set a boundary, and the family system cracked because it relied on your sacrifice. You're not heartless. You're finally valuing your own time. This Redditor commented NTA. You didn't embarrass her. She embarrassed herself by assuming your life revolves around her dating life. Let's break this down. She didn't ask you to babysit. She didn't check if you were available. She didn't care that you had plans. She expected compliance because that's how it's always worked. This isn't family helps family. This is family means Marcel gives up his weekend because I want to go flirt with someone new. The overnight assumption was the worst part. Dropping kids off with bags packed and a vague, "I'll be back late," is what irresponsible teenagers do with their dogs, not what a grown woman does with human children. And then she cried because you called out the entitlement. That wasn't sadness. That was frustration because her free childcare system malfunctioned. You didn't shame her. You simply removed the privilege she believed she was entitled to. Someone also said NTA. If her love life requires you to be a temporary father figure, her priorities are broken. What's really happening here is emotional outsourcing. She offloads her stress, her parenting responsibilities, and her guilt onto you. Meanwhile, she keeps the fun parent role for herself. You take the predictable, exhausting parts, she takes the social life. And the kicker? She uses guilt because she knows it works. But you know how hard it is not a question. It's manipulation dressed as vulnerability. She doesn't need you. She just doesn't want the inconvenience of arranging proper childcare. That costs money, effort, and planning. You don't. Your boundary is not cruel, it's overdue. Don't budge. If you allow one exception, the pattern resets. One user added NTA. You're not her co-parent, therapist, or safety net. You're her brother. Everyone saying you should have been gentler needs to realize something. People who don't respect soft boundaries leave no choice but firm ones. She ignored every earlier hint. She ignored the exhaustion. She ignored that you have your own life. She ignored basic courtesy like asking before dropping kids off. The moment your no made her cry, everyone rushed to soothe her, not you. That's because they're used to you being the strong one, the dependable one, the one who won't cause drama. But boundaries are not drama. If anything, your sister's behavior is drama. Emotional blackmail disguised as hurt feelings. Stick to your boundary. You're doing the right thing. Another user added NTA. If she has the energy to date, she can find the energy to arrange childcare. Parents don't get to demand free babysitting just because they wanted a night out. That's not how adulthood works. You didn't make a scene. You didn't yell. You simply said, "I have plans." That's normal. That's reasonable. What's not reasonable is dropping kids off like it's your scheduled shift and then disappearing. She chose to be a parent. You didn't. And honestly, if she's building a new relationship, she shouldn't hide the fact that she's a mom who needs childcare sometimes. If her new partner is worth anything, they'll respect her responsibilities. Instead, she's solving it by leaning on you in ways that strain your life. Her crying wasn't about embarrassment. It was about losing convenience. You handled this exactly right. One user says NTA, she's confusing help with obligation. The problem isn't that you don't help. You have helped. A lot. Probably more than anyone else in her life. The problem is that she no longer sees it as a favor. She sees it as the natural order of things. That's how entitlement works. It doesn't start loud. It starts quiet. It starts with, "Could you watch them tonight?" Then, "You don't mind if I drop them off, right?" And eventually, no asking at all. You're not punishing her. You're resetting a boundary she erased. She can be upset, but she doesn't get to rewrite reality. You're her brother, not her employee. Another comment, NTA. You said no once and the whole system collapsed. That tells you everything. Healthy relationships, even family ones, withstand boundaries. When a single "I'm not available" causes crying, guilt, and shaming, it means the relationship was based on you constantly saying yes. The fact that your refusal caused chaos proves how much pressure she placed on you. You didn't cause a breakdown. You exposed one. Your family got comfortable letting you be the safety net because you never complained. Now that you finally set limits, they act like you've betrayed them. But truthfully, you're just refusing to be used. Stay the course. Another comment says NTA. She's not overwhelmed. She's dependent on you specifically. Notice how she didn't line up. A babysitter, a friend, the kid's father, childcare services, anyone else in the family. She only relied on you. People don't become dependent on help. They become dependent on predictability. You were predictable. You were always there. You never pushed back. Once someone builds their life around your availability, they panic the moment you stop sacrificing yourself. Her crying was panic, not sadness. Panic because she realized she doesn't actually have a backup plan. That's her responsibility, not yours. Another comment says soft NTA, but this should have happened sooner. You trained her to expect unlimited childcare. Here's the uncomfortable truth. When you repeatedly rescue someone, you unintentionally teach them that you will always rescue them. She didn't become entitled overnight. This grew over months because you were trying to be supportive and didn't want to cause drama. It's not your fault she relied on you too much, but it's also not surprising. This boundary was necessary. It should have been set a long time ago. Now you're dealing with the blowback of years of enabling. But don't back down now. This is the correction phase. It will be emotional. It will be messy. But it's the only way your relationship survives in a healthier form. Now let's have a look at the final judgment. You set a completely normal boundary. You said no once, and the entire situation exploded. That shows the problem wasn't your refusal, it was her expectation. She relied on you instead of creating a real support system. You weren't a co-parent. You were a convenient solution she got too comfortable with. You didn't verbally attack, shame, or blame her. She projected that onto you. You handled it calmly. Her emotional meltdown came from panic, not your wrongdoing. You're allowed to have a life, plans, rest, and freedom. Babysitting is a favor, not a duty. Her reaction was manipulative plus guilt-based. Crying, accusing you, acting betrayed. Those are emotional pressure tactics, even if she didn't mean them maliciously. So the Reddit consensus is solid. You are not the asshole. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe for more content like this.